What's up, everybody? It is week 12 here on the Early Edge. We're ready to break it all down with Larry, RJ, Will. I'm Claudia, and the show is brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We've got 4 week 12 buys: Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, Commanders, and we finally have our first playoff elimination scenario. No playoff clinching, but the New York Giants can be eliminated with a Giants loss, a Dallas win, a Giants loss, a Minnesota win, or a Giants loss and a Seattle win or tie. So yes, some of these games are do or die. We're going to break it all down. We'll start with Thursday Night Football, but first, just want to get a little vibe check from my guys. Larry, how we feeling heading into week 12?
I'm feeling great. I didn't know the Giants were still alive, but it sounds like Jackson Dart is making a try to come back and save the season. But I don't think it's a good spot, even if he does come back against that defense on the road. I kind of hope that he sits it out and we get another Jameis Winston game.
RJ, Jameis Winston is fun to watch, I have to admit. Whether it's good or bad, he's just fun to watch.
That's what everybody prays for Jameis week, like every year. Like, just find a way to get that guy on the field, because at least you're going to get an entertaining game, which is more than we can say for basically every primetime game for the last month, right? I looked at it, and it's like the last time we had an interesting, fun primetime game was that first Steelers-Bengals game, that Thursday night game. It was over a month ago, and the rest of them have been kind of slugs.
Will, how you feeling?
I mean, the Rams won but didn't cover. I think the Giants have been eliminated since like week 1, more than likely. And bringing Jackson Dart back, very interesting if they do, because I would bet ownership has a mandate that he doesn't run the ball, which makes things kind of interesting. But we'll get to that in a minute when we talk about the Lions.
Last thing about Jameis is he threw a pick finally at the end of the game, but he also threw 3 picks that were dropped. So he tried to be regular Jameis. It just didn't happen.
He tried his darndest. If the Giants do get eliminated, it would be the earliest playoff elimination in the NFL since 2020, which was the New York Jets in week 11. Wow. Let's move on to Thursday Night Football. We've got the Bills. We've got the Texans. Bills laying 6 here. Look ahead was 2.5. This opened 4 on Sunday, so lots of movement here. Texans coming off back-to-back wins. Offense still questionable, but the defense certainly doing their job. CJ Stroud out with concussion protocol. Davis Mills set to make his 3rd start. Bills bounce back from the loss, but again, it's just Josh Allen. It's all on Josh Allen's shoulders with the 3 rushing, 3 passing touchdowns. For this game, they officially ruled out Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel, and Mecole Hardman. When looking at this number of 6, it feels like maybe too many points for the Texans. RJ, you think they cover?
Yeah, look ahead was 2.5. I probably had Stroud's return baked in at 2.5. That's why we've seen such a significant movement. But I don't think Mills has shown, too bad in that offense. And the drop should not be worth 3.5 points at this point, considering what we've seen from him the last 2 weeks. I don't think Buffalo's passing success from last week is going to carry over against the number 1 defense in pass yards per play. And they really need to have a good defensive game to cover. And you mentioned the offensive injuries. A lot of guys still banged up on that defense, a lot of limited practices to start the week. So we'll see how many of those guys get into this game, how many get ruled questionable, doubtful, whatever. But they could not stop the run against Tampa Bay. Sean Tucker ran all over them. Yeah. And rush success takes the pressure off Davis Mills to have to do too much in this matchup. So I think that Mills, who's been solid, will keep this game pretty close. I think it's going to be tough for the Bills to run away against an excellent pass defense. So I love getting +6 here.
Sean Tucker, Syracuse grad. Larry, let's go to you. You also like the Texans here.
Yeah, and I got to credit Davis Mills for one thing. He knows where the ball needs to go, and that's Nico Collins. 25 targets to Nico in those 2 weeks, and he's produced. And on the other side, this was Josh Allen's worst game last year when he went to Houston and they lost 23-20. He was 9 out of 30, and he was pressured on half of his dropbacks, and he was 1 of 14 when pressured. So with that defense at home, I agree with RJ. I'll take the points.
Yeah, almost 30% target share for Nico Collins when Davis Mills is under center. I'm with you guys. I'm on the Texans, and Davis Mills has played mistake-free football for most of his time on the field, and that's led to 2 wins in his 2 starts. So I'll certainly back Houston. And then Bills, again, it's just too much on Josh Allen's shoulders. They're lacking in the passing game. The defense is still questionable. And the fact that they let a banged up Bucs offense put up 32 after a lowly Dolphins offense put up 30 on him, I certainly see Houston putting some points on the board here. So we're all on the Texans. Will, you're just going to go with the Josh Allen anytime touchdown because it's the Josh Allen show.
Yeah. So I was on the Texans too, and I think that's the right play. I mean, the defense should keep them in it, and frankly, Buffalo's defense has been pretty bad. But the SportsLine members, sportsline.com/join, use promo code winners, get 60% off a full year. There at SportsLine, who have alerts on for my picks, would have gotten you could still get it at -117. Josh Allen anytime touchdown. It's -125 in most markets. Yesterday it was -115, and so you have to have access to a certain book to get it at 117. I think it's might be MGM. Actually, you know what? Let me look at the tool real quick. I think it's Caesars. MGM doesn't actually have that up yet, but it's -125 in a lot of other markets. And here's the reason. From weeks 10 through week 17 last year, which includes the Bills week 12 bye, so 7 games, Josh Allen scored 9 rushing touchdowns. 9. He is activating his legs down the stretch. They've got one last chance.
I think we're losing him. But he's right. 117 is the best price that you can get. I'm seeing this as high as -125. We know it. The volume is there when it comes to the attempts. The volume is there in general when looking at that last game, certainly on the ground for Josh. So it's going to be Josh Allen. We're going to come back and run through the Sunday slate as we do. We are running through the entirety of the Week 12 slate, and hopefully Will will be back with us. If not, we'll do it without Will. We've got Vikings, we've got Packers. Packers laying 6.5 here. I'm seeing a lot of Packers here. Will said he cannot get either side right. That's sort of how I felt about this. I'm leaning Packers, thought maybe putting them in a teaser makes sense with Josh Jacobs' knee being an issue here. He is not practicing. Let's come to you first, Larry. You just like under on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I lean towards the Packers, but I prefer the under here with the way J.J. McCarthy is playing with the 53% completion, throwing those rockets from 3 yards away. That's why he has one of the highest drop rates in the league, because they can't believe how fast that pass is coming in when he needs to feather it. So he's been a mess. And just the Packers offense seems still disjointed, even though they put up 27. This is a tough matchup because Jordan Love under pressure has struggled a lot. The Vikings have the number 2 pressure rate in the league. And over the last 3 games, the Vikings have played the Lions, the Ravens, and the Bears, 3 of the best offenses in the NFL. And they've given up 4.7 yards per play. So I think both defenses are going to dictate this one, and I'm going to go under.
And Will, like I said, you said in our notes, you literally can't get either of these teams right.
I mean, it's not even I can't get them right. It's like I'm on the wrong side. Like I was thrilled to get a Packers push last week in the Circa Millions. I mean, that's how bad things have gotten with the Packers and the Vikings for me. I can't get either one of them right. I do lean towards the Packers a little bit. I think, Jordan Love hadn't been great. Finally threw a passing touchdown miraculously against that Giants defense. But like JJ McCarthy, Larry mentioned, I mean, this guy has no touch whatsoever right now. Kevin O'Connell came out this week and said he's can't wait for the paint to dry or the cement to dry on JJ McCarthy's mechanics, which is not exactly a ringing endorsement of the way that he's playing. And so I'm just going to take the team that I think will make the fewest mistakes and probably has the higher floor in terms of their defense and what they can do with the rush game. So I'll go with the Packers, even though RJ, it is a Aaron Jones, the 15th Aaron Jones revenge game against the Packers.
And I will say mistakes is the first word that came to mind for me because the Packers have been making some mistakes with drops specifically. We saw 5 in the first half last week. That's now 8 drops in the last 6 quarters with week 10 included. But I do think there's some natural regression there. I don't think any regression in the positive direction is really going to come for JJ McCarthy yet. He did not complete a pass in the second half last week until less than 3 minutes to go. If you don't have the passing game going and the ground game is not dominant, you're not going to win games. So I certainly like the Packers. RJ, tell me why you do as well.
Yeah, he's waiting for the cement to dry on J.J. McCarthy. I think he's going to throw him in the ocean once it is, and move on to the next quarterback because I don't think he can win games with.
God, Arch.
He had a 50% completion rate against Chicago. I mean, with the weapons that they have in Minnesota, that is criminal. Like you got to open an investigation into
throw him in the ocean.
I think the Packers might cover if they get to 20. So even though it is a big number to cover against the Vikings defense, I think they can do it. I think he did take a step forward. You mentioned the drops. So you also have to factor in Christian Watson coming back, looking good now, looking good in the red zone, particularly 2 touchdowns. They really need a weapon like that with Tucker Kraft out. So if he's going to step in to fill that void, not as much of a drop off in the offense that maybe you would expect. Plus Golden will get healthier as we move on. So my ratings line has us on the other side of 7. So assuming I'm not giving too much credit to the Packers still, because I do think Jordan Love has more upside than he's shown, I'll back them to cover here.
And again, if you don't want to lay the 6.5, you're worried about the Jacobs injury, you could technically tease this, which is where I'm going to go now because, RJ, I see you have a teaser. One of my favorite teasers is the Patriots. You have the Steelers as the other leg. So let's get through that game. The Steelers and the Bears, aforementioned. Bears laying 3.5 here. Total set at 45. That's up from 44 in the hook. And this open Bears 2.5. So we've seen some Bears money. They're obviously picking up momentum with 3 straight wins, leading the NFC North at 7-3. Steelers top of the AFC North, but now they have no Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see how this goes with Mason Rudolph. How do you see it turning out, RJ?
Yeah, this number's danced around 2.5 and 3. I think 3 is probably the right number. So if you want to lay the 2.5 with Chicago, I think that's fine. I'd rather play the Steelers up in a teaser. Chicago keeps winning close games against bad teams, and I don't feel great having them rated as average in my ratings, which is, a division-leading team. You should feel pretty good about that. Steelers, I have rated lower with the injury to Aaron Rodgers and the way the defense has looked, but they're probably in that same group. So I think 3 is probably a good number. Chicago has a pretty good home field advantage. I'm counting on another close game here. I'm just going to tease it up with the Steelers.
All right. And Larry, Mason Rudolph, 8-4-1 as a starter with Pittsburgh. You like the Steelers here?
Yeah, 12 of 16, 127 and a touchdown. No mistakes when he came into the game, albeit that was against the Bengals. But now he's facing a similarly bad defense, maybe not quite as bad as the Bengals. But, these are the 2 luckiest teams basically in football when the Bears are plus 16 in turnover margin and the Steelers are tied for 4th in turnover margin at plus 8. And I don't think Mason Rudolph is going to give them the ball. And, this is a Bears team that should have lost to the Giants. Almost lost to the Vikings, a Vikings team that did nothing for 3 quarters. I just think this Bears run is a mirage, and it's going to end at some point. And I think it's this week when they lose a close one to the Steelers.
Well,
yeah, I mean, Larry nailed it. Like, it's like which like quasi fraudulent team do you want to back here, right? I mean, the Steelers are in first in their division with a plus 14-point differential, which is actually the best in their division. But then you have the Bears, who are minus 6-point differential and 7-3. It does feel like if we could get, I think, even if Aaron Rodgers is out, maybe one of those pop-up random great defensive performances from the Steelers that we saw against the Colts. They're not very consistent, but I think this might be a spot for one, just because the Bears struggle. Or can struggle against a good defense. If the Steelers do play well, I'm banking on a good defensive performance. Not a whole lot here. You're taking 2 lucky teams, Larry, right?
Yeah, but Alex Highsmith could come back for this game, and that's very big. 5.5 sacks and a forced fumble in the first 7 games. They've missed him. That could help Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying, but if the Bears aren't laying 3 and it's only this 2.5, I'm either going to tease the Steelers to get them through the 2 key numbers, or I'm going to take the Bears. And I don't mind taking the Bears. Caleb Williams had one of his worst games of the season. They still pulled out a win last week. The defense did their job. As you said, Larry, they kept the Vikings out of the end zone until that 4th quarter. And I just see them having similar success against the Steelers squad that maybe Rudolph is serviceable enough, but it's Mason Rudolph. It's not their starting quarterback, and they're 1-3 ATS on the road. They have 4 guys questionable on defense. Injury report will certainly matter here, but as long as it stays under that 3, I don't think either teams are really good enough to want to take a side, but because that's what we do on the show, I'll lay the 2.5. Now let's talk about a game I can't wait to watch in the Patriots. Patriots, babies, looking for their 9th straight win. Travion Henderson coming off a 3-touchdown game. Finally, we're seeing that. 5 touchdowns for him in the last 2 games. Patriots laying 8.5 here at Bengals. Total high at 49 in the hook. Bengals have lost 7 of their last 8, looking to avoid their 4th straight loss. And this tough stretch ahead of them, guys, they got the Pats. They have at the Ravens, at Buffalo, Ravens at home. And they have less than a 2% chance to make the playoffs. And on top of it all, they don't have Jamar Chase, who's suspended for spitting on people. So it's not a great spot. Patriots are big favorites here. Larry, how do you approach this one?
Well, the Patriots have been better on the road, Claudia. 5-0 against the number, covering by 8.5 points a game. Only the Seahawks are better than them on the road in terms of the ATS margin. And this is the worst defense in the history of DVOA, which goes back 47 years. And it's actually not even close. That's how bad the Bengals have been defensively. They won't get Trey Hendrickson back. Shamar Stewart, their first round pick, is out. So I don't see how they can keep the Pats from getting to 27 points. We saw Drake May in a comfortable pocket against the Jets, be very accurate, very efficient. And this is a much worse defense that he's taken on. And Joe Flacco, I'm worried about him after that hit. Came in with the shoulder thing. Then he got driven into the turf by TJ Watt, through the pick six. So I think it's Patriots. Anything less than 10, I love New England.
It sounds like you like a team total too, maybe there, Larry?
I haven't even checked the team total, but I'm just saying I think 27 is enough to get the cover here.
Okay. All right. Will, you're expecting points?
Yeah, I think we get a lot of points in this one. You can throw a little bit on the Patriots. There's also a decent, is there a chance that Jamar Chase, has he had his suspension? By the way, did you hear
he tried to?
No, his claim was if I was going to spit on him, I would have spit in his face. That was his argument for overturning the suspension, which is
the appeal was denied. So
the appeal was denied. So he's definitely out for this game. Yes. I still think we can get there with the Bengals. On this over. It's a high total, obviously. We'll need a lot of points from the Patriots, but I don't think they're going to be hard to come by. This defense, Lou Anarumo was the scapegoat for this defense, and he's done a good job in Indy. You've seen the struggles with, doesn't matter who's coaching, Al Golden, bring in whoever, like Dicka, bring in whoever, right? Buddy Ryan. It ain't going to fix this Bengals defense, particularly if Hendrickson's out. I think they score 20 points, and then the Patriots get us the rest of the way. It'll be close on the line. I will take the over in the spot.
And the Patriots team total is 29.5. So odds makers are at least expecting points from New England side. I know RJ has the Patriots in his teaser, the second leg of that Steelers teaser. I'm going to tease them with the Falcons, which I'll get to later. The only reason I'm teasing them is because they're on the road. Not that the Bengals have been very good at home. They have 2 wins and 2 covers. But just because you never really know what you're going to get from Joe Flacco. And maybe this is a spot that the Patriots are overlooking. They're one of the best teams in football, the best. Drake May is playing at an MVP level. Everything's firing on all cylinders. Maybe they just take their foot off the pedal a little bit. I don't think Vrabel's going to necessarily let them do that. But 8.5 is a lot of points in the NFL in Week 12. So I feel better getting them under a field goal. That's exactly what I'm going to do. But again, no Jamar Chase. This defense was already awful, and now they're banged up. And they're allowing the most points in a season, over 33, since the Giants in 1966. They've allowed 27 points and 340 yards in 9 straight games. I do love the Patriots here, and as I'm talking myself into this, why don't I just play the regular spread? I don't know, but I already locked it in. RJ, tell me why you are teasing them.
Yeah, everything points to the Patriots here. Joe Flacco moving like J.J. McCarthy. Just 6 completions on his 18 targets to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins against the Steelers. And he's going to struggle more with no Chase, in this game, obviously. Since he's defense, like Larry said, worst of all time, the drop from number 1 to number 2 there is about the same as the drop from number 2 to 11. So that tells you the margin of how bad they've been compared to every other worst defense of all time. So you expect the Patriots to score a lot of points, but you're right. It is a sleepy spot. That's a lot of points to lay on the road, a big number. So I'm going to tease it down to 2.5 just in case Joe Flacco can get them through the back door, late touchdown to T. Higgins, lose by 6 instead of 13. Yeah. And so I'm going to take the teaser as well.
All right, sweet. Let's move on.
By the way, just really quickly, the Patriots could low-key, this is the easiest schedule.
Win the Super Bowl? Yeah.
No, I don't think this schedule is the biggest joke on the planet. They could be undefeated right now. They should have beaten the Steelers in Week 3 for sure, and they easily could have beaten the Raiders in Week 1. And those are their 2 hardest opponents. They played one good team this year. It is unbelievable. It looks like.
See them beat? Who do you need to see them beat to say that they're a good team? Tell me.
Claudia, their schedule is abhorrently easy.
At Buffalo, at Tampa Bay.
They beat the Bills in Buffalo when they were on a roll. Who do you need to see them beat?
Let's see them beat any playoff team other than the Bills.
Okay. I'll put my money on that as I'm teasing them.
You won't get a chance to because they're not playing any other playoff teams besides the Bills this year.
Whatever, Will. We're talking about the Giants and the Lions now. Hey, you're not alone. Pretty much everybody else in the world is on your side. Giants, Lions laying 10.5, total at 50. Again, this is a lot of points, but the Lions need a big win here. They managed just 6 points against the Eagles on Sunday. Jared Goff, one of the worst games of the season for him. Giants coming off the loss to Green Bay, the first game with Mike Kafka as interim head coach. They did lead, though. That game. Somehow the Giants stay in these games and they make them competitive. With less than 5 minutes left, they had the lead, but they lost. So now they have 5 straight losses. We talked about the Jameis Winston effect. It doesn't matter like who's on this team or what the game script is. He's going to be throwing the ball. So I'm just going to look at Jameis Winston attempts. I haven't seen the number yet, but that's where I'm going with it. I'm staying away from his side. RJ, tell me why you're taking the points with the Giants.
Yeah, we might have Jackson Dart back. I think even though if he doesn't run a ton, that's huge.
Okay, well,
the Lions, their interior offensive line has not looked great in these games. It's really slowed down the offense. You talk about the worst game of the season for Jared Goff. It might be the worst game of his career. When you look at completion percentage, it's the lowest he's ever had. Same with Amon-Ra St. Brown, only 3 games sub 50% catch rate on his passes, was 2 of 12. That's twice as bad as his worst game ever. Just a lot of things lined up with the 0-5 for fourth downs for them to lose that game against Philly. Could be a decent bounce back spot. I just think the Giants have been too solid with Dart under center, and it's a trap game for Detroit. Massive matchup with Green Bay on the schedule for that early Thanksgiving kick, and the Giants expect it to be a pushover. We see it all the time. They go in, they win these games by 3 instead of 10, and people are like, how did the Giants stick around in this game? So I think that they'll be able to do it, maybe a little bit higher scoring than we think with the Giants scoring points, and 10.5 is just too much for me.
I forgot about the Dart part of it all. If he does play, I would say attempts there too, because the narrative there is that Kafka's not going to be conservative, and we saw that last week. He's going to be aggressive. So in general, that with the game script, whoever is under center is probably going to go over. But does Jackson Dart play the full game if he is out there? So my advice would be to stay away from the quarterback and maybe stay away from this game altogether. But Will, you say no, lay the 10.5.
Yeah, I mean, is Mike Kafka going to be aggressive? I was looking at I was doing some fantasy ad drops last night, and I was like, wait, Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary both had over 15 carries last week. They had 35 carries against the Packers. That's pretty wild. Like anytime Jameis Winston has less than 30 pass attempts, you're being fairly conservative. I do think Dart comes back. I don't think, as I mentioned off the top, that they will run him at all, at least on design runs. I mean, that has been a key talking point, and I think it led part and parcel to why Brian Daboll got fired. So Mike Kafka will be under strict orders from ownership to make sure that Jackson Dart does not get hit. You take away his legs, I think that takes away a big part of what he does on the field. And then you look at the Lions, and they've got 4 losses on the year. The following game after their first 3 losses, they lost to Green Bay in week 1. They beat the Bears 52-21. They lose at the Chiefs. They beat the Bucs at home in primetime 24-9. I think it was primetime. And then they lose to the Vikings 24. They lose to the Vikings in week 9 and beat the Commanders 44-22. So this is a bounce back, angry team. Dan Campbell's play calling's fine against bad defenses, and the Giants secondary bad. It's at home. You're not going to have to deal with any weather or Jared Goff in sub 50-degree temperatures. I think the Lions put on a show here and have an explosive offensive performance, win by 20 points.
20 points. Okay. Larry, thoughts?
Well, Will, you went back and traced the last 3 times that the Lions have lost a game. If you go back to the last 13 times they've lost a game with Dan Campbell, they have won and covered the next spot. So this is a great spot because this Giants defense, they had the lead with 7 minutes to go. I think Mike Kafka acquitted himself very well, but that defense, that high-paid defense has been such a disappointment, and they couldn't stop the Packers from going down the field and just winning the game. And my favorite play this week is Jameson Williams, because since Dan Campbell took over, he made it a point to say, we are getting the ball to Jameson Williams. 7 targets each of the past 2 games, over 200 receiving yards. He was basically the only offensive player who did much against that Eagles defense. And now you're playing the Giants number 1 in man coverage, one of the highest rates of single high safety. These are coverages that Jameson Williams destroys. So I am on Jameson Williams over 59.5, over 24.5 longest catch, plus 125 for a touchdown. Any way you can play him, because look, there's no Sam Laporta anymore. their number 3 receiver is Khalif Raymond. I mean, because the rookie has been a disappointment. So there's really not a lot of options other than St. Brown and Jameson Williams.
Yeah, and I would just add too on the JMO thing, and I agree with Larry. I think great, like start him everywhere in fantasy, great prop look. There is a direct negative correlation or positive, whatever the correlation is, between Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta. When Sam Laporta is out, Jameson Williams explodes. And when Jameson Williams is out, Sam Laporta goes off. Like we have seen that throughout the entirety of those two being together on the Lions. So this is a really good spot down the stretch of this season for Jameson Williams to have some monster games.
All right, big bounce back for JMO and this Lion squad expected in Week 12. When we come back, we're running through the 1 p.m. slate continued. How about the Seahawks laying 13.5 points on the road against the Titans? Titans officially the worst team in the NFL at 1-9, but they did almost beat the Texans, right? They, walk-off field goal for that one, but still they lost. Worst point differential in the NFL. Seahawks coming off that loss to the Rams. It was a tight one, even with Sam Darnold playing his worst game of the season with 4 picks. 13.5 is just so many points, though, Larry.
It is, but the Seahawks are just a machine on the road. 5-0 against the spread. They're covering those games by about 10 points per game, and they have the number 1 pressure rate in the league. So Cam Ward, who's been sacked 41 times, that is the most in the NFL. He is going to be running for his life back there behind, that terrible offensive line against that very strong Seattle front. And yes, Jeffrey Simmons came back and made a big difference for the Titans. So that does give them a shot to kind of hang in for a while. But number 1 DVOA against number 32, I'm going to lay the points.
RJ, I like how you're playing the Seahawks first quarter -2.5.
Yeah, and just speak on what Larry just said, and there's never been the number 32 team in DVOA beat the number 1 team in DVOA, according to Aaron Schatz, who created DVOA. So if you're looking for a survivor play, you can't get much better than never, never lose situation. I'm taking Seahawks -2.5 in the first quarter, have to lay -135. It is hard to see Tennessee scoring much with all the receiver injuries and the brutal matchup. Seahawks defense ranks 5th in yards per rush. I think the Seahawks offense is going to be interested in getting on track early after that ugly Sam Darnold game, get it out of his system, show that they are still a Super Bowl contender. I think they're going to go out and score early, certainly 3, probably even 7. And I don't think the Titans score in the first quarter. So I like laying 2.5 in the first quarter.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's a bounce back spot, similar to what the Lions. I mean, Seattle not humiliated because they kept it close, but I mean, Sam Darnold, just the worst game of the season by far. I think the only 4 interception game by any quarterback this year. And the Titans are just not going to do the same thing to Darnold that the Rams did. The Rams knocked Sam Darnold out of Minnesota and they ruined his week, maybe his year in Seattle. So this is it's just a bounce back spot. They're going to run the ball. They're going to get opportunities for play action. I think this is the Rashid Shaheed week. Love Rashid Shaheed and JMO together in a DFS lineup, just explosive possibilities down the field. It's just a bounce back spot for Seattle. I think they smashed Tennessee.
All right. Well, hopefully that comes with 27 or more points, because that's where I'm going to go with it. I just can't stomach laying 13.5, despite how bad this Titans squad is. But we knew that turnovers were a bit of an issue. It just didn't matter against lesser teams. We saw it come to fruition with those 4 picks against the Rams. But this is a lesser team. The Titans are bottom 10 in takeaways, bottom 10 in yards allowed, allowing the 3rd most points a game. So I'm not going to lay 13.5, but I will bet them to do something they didn't do last week, but they did in all but 2 of the previous 8 games, and that is score 27 points. We'll move on to the Colts and the Chiefs. Chiefs laying 3.5 at home, despite coming off back-to-back losses after losing to the Broncos at home. And now they get the Colts coming off a bye week. Will, how do you approach this one?
Again, as I noted on earlier in the show, if you are a SportsLine member, sportsline.com/join, use promo code WINNER, 60% off. You could have gotten this at Chiefs -3, which I put in on SportsLine on Monday night, I think. Obviously like that a lot better because the Colts are a good football team. They can potentially keep this close if they get a lead on the Chiefs. Jonathan Taylor will do Jonathan Taylor things, and he will run the football effectively. Having said all that, I don't think they do. This is as close to a must-win game in a non-playoff situation as you can get for the Chiefs. They still have a faint hope, like a faint glimmer of hope for the division. But the bigger concern is making the playoffs. They are on the outside looking in, and they have an uphill battle here. Now the schedule is fairly friendly. I do think they sneak in as a wild card, but this is a big game for Patrick Mahomes. You see the numbers there. He plays much better at home. They will come out fired up in this spot. And I think we see a vintage Mahomes and Chiefs offense game early. A lot of Rashee Rice, a lot of Travis Kelce, get a lead, force Daniel Jones to drop back a bunch. And when he does that, he has been prone to make mistakes. And I think if the Chiefs get that lead early, they can win this one by 6-7 points.
RJ, whenever we see Mahomes in this spot, everybody brings up the fact that he's never lost 3 regular season games in a row. But the stat that comes to mind for me is the one-score games. They're 0-5 in one-score games this season after being 12-0 last year, and you're going to give me 3.5 points with an 8-2 team coming off a bye?
Yeah, it shows you that isn't predictive, right? The one-score wins and losses.
Right.
It could happen even to a great team like this. And you talk about must-win spots. Last week was the must-win spot. They had 2 weeks to prepare, and it was the situation where we always know the Chiefs show up, and they certainly did not, especially offensively, did not look great. The spread is treating Kansas City as the better team. I don't think that they are. I think the Colts have shown that they are the better team over the course of the season. The thing that they've had to contend with, like the Patriots, is who have they played, who have they beat. And this is their chance to show up and say, we are for real here. And I think that they're going to do it. Their offense, number 1 in yards per play, 2.5 points per game better than any other team. You know, they're by margin the best offense in the league right now, you know, kind of like the Bengals are the worst defense. I think catching the hook is a gift. I don't think you had to have locked in Will's play early, because I think you're going to be able to get 3 by game day, because I think this line's going to come down. I like the Colts +3 a lot.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The league leader in points and point differential, scoring on almost 58% of their drives. And I know the sacks and the picks have become an issue over the last 2 games. I think we see some regression to the mean for what we saw for the beginning, the first half of the year, the majority of the year. It's really only been the last 2 games where that has been an issue. So I'm certainly with you. I love the hook there with the Colts. Larry, tell us why you're staying away from the sides. You're just going to bet the under.
I'm really torn on the side in this game, because I do think the Colts offense, which has had the benefit of playing the Titans twice, is not the same when you're outdoors on grass as it is indoors on turf. Still a very good offense, but I think it's going to be a very run-heavy game plan. They don't want Daniel Jones taking the 12 sacks he's taken the last 2 weeks against a very good Kansas City front that blitzes at a very high rate. So you're going to see a ton of running from Jonathan Taylor. You're going to see quick throws. And on the other side, the Chiefs have not shown yet. To me, I know you showed that they put up 28 points a game at home, but this is a Colts defense with Lou Anarumo, who knows how to defend Kansas City, that now has Sauce Gardner. And I just think it's going to be an under. I mean, the Chiefs are 25-9 to the under at home the last 4 years. It's also held true this year. They just tend to play those tighter, lower scoring games, 24-20, something like that. I'll play the under.
Yeah, high total there at 50.5. Much lower total in this next game with the Jets and the Ravens set at 44 in the hook. The spread here is the big one, 13.5. 13.5 is a lot of points for a 44.5 point total. With all of that said, RJ, we'll come to you first. You don't care. You're going to lay the 13.5.
Yeah, a lot of talk about how bad Justin Fields has been, and I'm not here to defend Justin Fields. He has not looked good. They've had negative net passing yards in a game, and very, very low in a few other games. Tyrod hasn't played any better than Fields. You look at the numbers; they're very similar, especially passing wise, where Tyrod's supposed to have the edge. I don't see the quarterback switch mattering against a Baltimore defense that has been very good over the last month since they've gotten healthy. Has not allowed 20 points since week 5. It feels like this should be 27-10. I don't think the Jets are going to be able to stop Lamar Jackson in that offense much, and I don't think that they're going to be able to come in through the back door. So I will lean to Ravens minus 13.5. I think the game should probably be maybe even a field goal higher.
Will, also on the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, and thank you, producer Ben, for throwing up that John Harbaugh 23-0 is outright as a favorite of 11 plus points. Yeah, I mean, you wish I was against the spread. You feel a lot better about this. It is a lot of points to lay. You're probably not going to find me laying 13.5 as a best bet in a bunch of spots. You got to win by 2 touchdowns. But the Ravens against this Jets team that had the big, emotional attempt to come out last week and like they lose everybody now. I think we see a Derrick Henry explosion game in this spot where Lamar, he's not using his legs. He's not playing great in the red zone, but against this Jets defense, Derrick Henry should be able to go bananas, and that's going to force Tyrod to throw a bunch. The Ravens secondary and defense overall much better than it was earlier in the season. And this just feels like a spot where they get up 24-3 and just put the clamps down and let Henry run wild. So I'll take the Ravens to lay the points.
Tyrod Taylor revenge game, drafted by Baltimore, spent his first few seasons there.
It's like fair. I mean, it's like a Josh Johnson revenge game. It's like the guy walks around having a revenge game every week.
Yeah. Something interesting I found about Tyrod Taylor, and I know who else is with me here. Larry, you're with me on the Jets. I'll touch quickly on it. It's not something I love, but 13.5 is just so many points. I know the Ravens defense has been significantly better. They went from a bottom 5 defense in DVOA to top 10 since week 6. Massive difference there. But the offense has been a little bit concerning. The last 2 weeks, they've scored on less than 34% of the red zone drives. They've now allowed 30 sacks in 10 games, 6 more than all of last season. And last week, Lamar threw multiple picks for the first time since 2023. Offense worries me a little bit. Defense has been much better. But when it comes to Tyrod Taylor, I do think it's going to be a step up from Justin Fields and the fact that he's going to protect the football. How many touchdowns? I don't know. But we've seen clean football from him. He's tied for the fewest interceptions per start by any quarterback since 1950. Shout out to the CBS research team. I found that very interesting. So for that reason, I'm leaning the Jets. Larry, put a bow on it. Why should we take the points here?
Yeah, put that graphic back up where it showed that he completed 73% of his throws at Tampa Bay, where they covered again. He's 21-12 against the spread as a dog. They covered that game. He got a late garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter. Then they got the blocked field goal to almost win the game. But this is a guy who will move the chains, who will not throw the picks. And the one thing he's got to do is throw the ball to Breece Hall. He is your best weapon now without Garrett Wilson, and Justin Fields was unable or unwilling to do that. And like you guys talked about, Lamar Jackson is not running since he came back. 60 rushing yards in 3 games, 3.3 yards per carry. And I think that's one of the reasons they haven't been as good in the red zone when you take that threat away. So, yeah, too many points for the Jets, who should have covered against the Patriots. I was glad they didn't because I had the Patriots, but the Jets were actually well on their way to covering until the late fumble.
Yep, sure were. All right, when we come back, we will run through the 4 p.m. slate. Shedeur Sanders getting the start for the Browns, and they're catching 3.5 points, up to 4 now against the Raiders. We're seeing this total at 36. Raiders coming off that Monday Night Football loss to the Cowboys. And this means Shedeur Sanders is getting his first official start, first team reps in practice. We'll see how all that goes, but you saw him come into the game last week and doing the hand motions and all of that, and it was pretty dud of a debut, but he was all excited for it. All of that being said, I'm seeing Raiders here from Will. I'm seeing Browns from RJ. Will, talk to me about the Raiders first.
I mean, you said Shedeur Sanders, right? Like, come on.
Sure
This
did.
is, like, he was terrible. And there's people out there, you should turn on CBS Sports HQ, obviously. But other than that, I'd probably dodge sports talk radio between now, or like sports talk television between now and like after Thanksgiving. Because there's going to be an annoying level of Shedeur Sanders discussion. Everyone's phone probably exploded about, lunchtime on Wednesday because Shedeur is getting the first official start. It's a good spot. Like, if you're going to start him against the Raiders, I guess. That, they haven't looked great. But Max Crosby's still coming off the edge, and this is a road game. The Browns defense is it's a crazy split. They are the best defense in football at home, and they're just an average defense on the road. Now, I don't think the total's 36. I don't think the Raiders are going to go hog wild here or anything, but I think they can move the ball enough. Daniel Carlson looked like he kind of figured some stuff out, get some field goals here, and Shedeur Sanders is going to turn the ball over at least twice in this spot. I think the Raiders come away with a win somehow, some way. The line stinks. It's too high.
So it sounds like maybe defense, Larry, which leads us to the offense for the Raiders. You're not expecting many points.
Yeah, well, the Raiders have a third-round rookie, Caleb Rogers, who was supposed to start for Jackson Powers-Johnson, and he was so bad in practice that they said, you know what, it's not fair to the rest of the team to put him out there. So they move a few guys around. They got totally dominated up front by the Cowboys. They decided they couldn't run the ball at all, and now you have to deal with Myles Garrett. Without two starting offensive linemen. I mean, the Browns defense, I know what Will said, they have those big home road splits, but I think they're going to dominate the Raiders. And I don't know what to expect from the Browns and all the sacks that Shedeur Sanders is probably going to take. But the one thing I'm confident is the Browns against this Raiders offense, which looked totally discombobulated it was a dream matchup against the Cowboys at home, and they could do nothing. So I'm going to go under 19.5.
All right, and I'll get in here with my under on the full game. I know, RJ, you like the Browns, which I'll let you go on about. I think even if Shedeur plays better than his debut, though, how many more points are we talking than what they've done all season, regardless of who's under center? They've had the fourth fewest points, even worse on the road. You know the only team worse than them? One of the three teams? It's the Raiders. So the Raiders can't put up points. Geno has the second lowest adjusted EPA per play during their 4-game losing streak. And the Browns are allowing the fewest yards per play. They're top 5 in defensive DVOA. As we know, defense is really the only calling card, the only silver lining on both sides. So whatever, call me square. It's super low, but maybe it's not low enough. I would lean under the 36.5, which means points will be at a premium. So grabbing 3 in the hook looks pretty enticing, RJ.
Or even grabbing 4. I mean, Shedeur Sanders was named the starter and this line moved. And I want to ask why, because Dylan Gabriel has not looked like a quarterback that should be giving points to anybody. You put anybody in over him, and I don't think you're losing anything. As bad as Shedeur looked in his brief, debut there, that against a really good defense, really tough matchup. Mm-hmm. Getting him the number 1 starter reps, he's apparently come forward a bit, progressed in practice a bit. I think he could have a good game here against a Raiders defense that hasn't been great. I know they have Max Crosby, but they're a little bit of a paper tiger, I think, in terms of how good they were before that game. I was kind of trusting that maybe they could hold the Cowboys to less than 30 and play well. They did not. They did not play well in any facet of the game. So on a 36 total, you want to give me 4 points. I'm going to take them with basically anybody, even if it's Shedeur Sanders on the road here. So this might be like the Miami-Cleveland game where he doesn't have to do much. He could throw 10 passes and they win that game by double digits because that's how bad the Raiders have been. So I like getting 4 here with the Browns.
All right. You like another dog in this Jags and Cardinals game. Cardinals catching 2.5 at home. Jags coming off that big win over the Chargers, which was a shocker for me. I was needing points for the Chargers, which they did not give me. All good. 35-6 final there. Cardinals coming off a near 20-point loss to the 49ers. So tell me, RJ, why should we take the points with the Cardinals at home?
Yeah, the Cardinals were favored on the look ahead. The Jaguars, of course, look great, and this line swings so high. So I just think it's too many points. I think you're giving the Jaguars too much credit for one game when they've been up and down all season. They've looked great, beating the Chiefs one week and then looked terrible the next week. So I like taking the team that was favored on the look ahead here. Played pretty well offensively. The defense completely, fell apart against in a very tough matchup with Brock Purdy coming back there. Hopefully they'll be healthier for this game. We'll keep an eye on the injury report here. And I think Brissett is going to go out and light up this Jaguars defense because he has looked great every game he started. Set the record for completions in a game last week, ever, in any game ever. It's pretty impressive stuff from him. So I think the Cardinals should probably still be favored in this game. I like catching 2.5.
Yeah, and shout out to me because on our NFL one, I gave out Brissett yards, and I got so much hate. Everybody was hating on me. No Marvin Harrison, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, people. It was 238.5, and how many did he put up? 452 yards. My issue is they can chuck it almost 60 times. Thank you. They can chuck it almost 60 times, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. And they have such a thin running back room. It worries me. Some injuries on defense. And the Jags got that win last week, down their top 3 corners, their top 2 receivers, their top 2 tight ends, O-linemen, best safety. Like, they had so many things going wrong, and they still looked dominant. So for me, I'm going to lay the 2.5. I don't love it because Jacoby Brissett, again, is sort of a wild card. Like maybe those completions do result in some touchdowns. Maybe they are in the red zone. I just don't know. I can't trust them. So I'm going to lay the 2.5. And I see, Larry, that you're with me. So let's touch there, and then Will, I'll let you wrap it up and defend the Cardinals again.
I love what Jacoby Brissett is doing, but a lot of it is in garbage time, and he won't have Marvin Harrison again. And they lost another running back in DeMercado. They lost a tackle in Beachum. They lost another corner. This team is decimated, and basically they're writing off the season. They're going to move on without Kyler Murray next year. So that's where the Cardinals' mindset is. And the Jaguars, on the other hand, they have a running game now with Tootin and Etienne. They're averaging nearly 150 rushing yards their last 3 games. And the strategy is basically don't let Trevor Lawrence lose it. You know, they're going to limit his pass attempts. And there was a nice rapport that he had with Jacoby Myers. I think he trusts him a little bit more to go get those balls over the middle than he did Brian Thomas. So I'm going to lean with the Jags as long as it's under 3.
I mean, look, the Jaguars don't need to.
Cardinals, or is it a lean?
I mean, I don't love the Cardinals. I just don't think the Jaguars should be favored on the road. I mean, they've been, as RJ pointed out, up and down like crazy. You know, great win, huge win, keeps them, you know, in the mix-ish. But I mean, this is an overcorrection by the market. So I'll back the Cardinals as a dog here. I think the Cardinals went outright, quite frankly.
Okay. And if you don't think the Cardinals went outright, but you don't want to lay the points on the road, you could also tease it. I love my teasers. Okay, Eagles laying 3.5 at Cowboys. Total set at 47.5 now, so that's dropped a little bit from where it was at. Eagles 8-2, coming off a win over that Lions offense. Still not very convincing, but the defense certainly coming into form. Cowboys look great in the win over the Raiders, but it was the Raiders. Will, I'll come to you first. You're looking at the under here.
Yeah, this total didn't make any sense when it opened at like 51.
51.5.
Yeah, I mean, if we watch the Eagles play, like I get that the Cowboys defense is absolute, as the kids say, cheeks, but they were a lot better against the Raiders. And Quinnen Williams, like, looks like maybe it took him a week to adjust coming over in the trade. You know, they didn't have that bye with the trade deadline. Maybe like now it's starting to click a little bit. You know, imagine if this team still had Micah Parsons. I think they'll be able to slow down the run game enough here. The Eagles had that 2-week stretch from week 7 to 8 where they like took the top off, throwing the ball all over the place. Things were great. Our AJ Brown's happy. He's not on Twitch. And that's just gone out the window. I mean, he got 10 targets, didn't do anything with it. I think they're going to be conservative against the Cowboys in this spot. Keep running the football. And the Eagles defense, holy crap. I mean, they legitimately might be the best defense in football now. They are a top 3 defense for sure with all their acquisitions. I think they'll put the clamps down on the Cowboys enough in this spot where we just don't see a ton of points. I think this game goes way under and the market is moving in the right direction.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm going under. Jared Goff was given hell pretty much all game. Quinnen Williams had his best game last week than he did pretty much all season with the Jets. More production in the first half, really, than we saw all season with the Jets for him. And Eagles, like I said, I just don't really trust them. They couldn't get much going even against a banged-up secondary. Just 26 points for them over the last 2 games. So I'm with you, Will. I am going under. Let's talk about some sides here. It looks like you're both on the Cowboys. Larry, talk to me.
Well, at home, the Cowboys offense has been a juggernaut aside from that game against the Cardinals. And, you know, all the weapons are healthy. The offensive line is healthy. And they're not going to put up 30 plus, I don't think. But I think they can do enough to keep this within the number, a 24-21, 27-24 type of a game. Because that Eagles offense, I mean, they're 24th in success rate. They're averaging about 5 yards a play the last 3 games. Not very explosive at all. And I do think the Cowboys defense is improved. We don't know how much because they were playing the Raiders. We'll find out this week how much Quinnen Williams and all those guys make a difference for Dallas. But just with all the weapons Dak has and the way he's playing a very high level, I think he can keep it close.
RJ?
Yeah, Philly's offense unimpressive. 24th in yards per play, 25th in yards per rush, even in a good matchup. I don't think they're going to score a bunch with Lane Johnson out. We know that when he has missed time, this Eagles offense over the years has been, a lot worse than what we typically see. And I believe their record is under 500. Dallas defense coming off a big game with Quinnen looking great. They essentially added 2 linebackers. They added the one in the trade with Logan Wilson, and now Damari Overshone is healthy. He played his first game last year. That's a big upgrade. They have been getting a bad performance at linebacker, just to put it lightly, over the whole year. So you upgrade 2 positions on that spot. I think this is a little bit better defense than we're taking into account, and they're playing an offense that has not played well. I love the plus 3.5. I like the money line too. I think that this is a game the Cowboys could go out and win, keep themselves thinking that they're going to make the playoffs. They have a long shot chance to make the playoffs. Keep it alive here in a spot with, a win over an Eagles offense that has not looked good for weeks.
Sometimes false hope can just get you where you need to be. All right, let's talk Falcons and Saints. Saints laying 1.5, coming off a bye. A win before that against the Panthers, which broke their 4-game losing streak. Falcons looking to avoid their 6th straight loss after losing in overtime to the Panthers. They blew a double-digit lead in the second half, and they will do that with Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix Jr. on IR, Drake London also dealing with a knee. He is expected to be out. And Tyler Shuck, everybody said he wouldn't be an upgrade, but he looked quite all right last week. 2 touchdowns, no picks, 282 passing. Larry, you're looking at the Saints this week on the money line.
Yeah, he had a 128 passer rating in that game, so give him credit. And this is just another fate of the Falcons. Their defense is totally gassed. 2 straight overtime games, brutal travel schedule, and they've lost 5 straight in the division. They're actually 5-13 overall since they had a really hot start last season. And RJ, credit to him because he jumped on the Saints as underdogs when the line opened. I'll still play them on the money line, minus 125. Drake London being out is so massive because Kyle Pitts still has problems with the drops. Darnell Mooney has really been a disappointment, and Kirk Cousins can't move back there. He's a statue, and the Saints defense at home, they're going to be solid. I love the Saints outright this week.
RJ?
Yeah, I do a look-ahead article every week on CBSSports.com. We had the Saints plus 3.5 there. Now, we didn't know, of course, about the Falcons' injuries, but it just didn't make sense that would be the case. This Saints team, they won against a Carolina team on the road, and they dominated them, I think, in that game for the most part. And I think that Carolina team was in a better spot than this Falcons team is right now, with Kirk Cousins starting, with Drake London out, with injuries on defense. We saw they had a very bad game against that same Carolina team defensively. So, yes, got the Saints catching points. Tells you how much I think the spread was off, that I still love them at minus 1.5. With this 2-point line move, I think that's still probably going to be my favorite pick of the week when we get to best bets, just because of, like Larry said, the 2 overtime game. The Falcons have to be gassed at this point, and now they're running on fumes with the injuries they have to their key players. So love the Saints here.
Will, your rebuttal?
Yeah, I was sort of I don't think I like the Falcons anymore. I put the Falcons in our sheet.
Honestly, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, dang, I actually don't really like
I was like, I think this is an overreaction. The Saints aren't very good. The Falcons are terrible. Falcons, yeah. It does feel, I'll back the Falcons, and I'll argue that Kirk Cousins has been awful, but he does have a chance here now to go into the Superdome in a place, decently, it's not a friendly environment, but it's not like it's not going to be bad conditions. And even without Drake London, potentially play well enough to make himself another $50 million. Michael Penix is done for the year. This is Kirk Cousins' team. Go out and steal I don't think he's not going to steal the job back. Go out and make yourself another $50 million, Kirk Cousins. This is what you do. When the cash is on the table, you shine brighter than anyone not named Darrelle Revis in the history of professional football. So Kirk Cousins, screw it. We love the Falcons this week. Go out and light it up, Kirk. You, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, Bijan game, all over the place. Falcons win. Can't believe I talked myself into that.
Okay, well, I'm teasing them, so I wasn't gung-ho on them to begin with, but getting them over a touchdown makes me feel better, just because I don't really have all that faith in Tyler Shuck, and they did look good last week, but I'm not all that bought in on their defense, and this Atlanta defense has been pretty solid, specifically getting that pressure up front, so I think Tyler Shuck is going to see some more pressure than he saw last week. The squad with the 7th most pressures, I should say 7th highest pressure rate so far, and the Saints, I just don't think are going to put up enough points to cover a 7.5. A 1.5, maybe 7.5. No, I don't think so. Averaging just 10 points over their last 3 games. So this was going to be part of my best bet. We're going to have to talk in the commercial break to see if I should still do that. But we'll be right back to talk Sunday night and Monday Night Football. RJ brought up a good point. Low total in that game as well. So the more points, the better if I'm taking the dog. All right, Saturday Night Football. We got the Bucs And the Rams, here we go. Rams laying 6.5 here, total set at 49 in the hook. Rams with 5 straight wins. Bucs still leading their division despite back-to-back losses. They've lost 3 of their last 4, not in a great way. Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin still questionable. Keep an eye on that. Will, talk to me.
Right. The Rams are the best team in football. I've been saying it for a month plus now. It's come to fruition. Matthew Stafford is the MVP. I've been saying it for a month plus now. He is the actual MVP favorite at plus 135, I believe, right now. He's playing
Drake
incredible.
Not far behind, but yeah.
That's it. Yeah, Drake May hadn't played anybody there. The Rams are getting a Bucs team that maybe is a little bit healthier, but I am curious to see whether or not we actually get Chris Godwin or Bucky Irvin. Because they were trending about as well as you could possibly trend last week to play. And then Friday, Todd Bowles comes out, he's like, nope, they're not playing. Like, I don't know if these guys are necessarily ready to come back. And without those 2 guys, technically this is a Baker Mayfield revenge game, but I digress. Without those 2 guys, you just don't have enough weapons. And this Rams defense, I know that we talked about maybe they showed they weren't fraudulent on Sunday against the Seahawks. I mean, they did a great job against Seattle. They can rush the passer. They're going to get pressure on Baker. Tampa's just too banged up. I think the Rams win this one. A little bit more high-scoring game maybe than what we saw from Seattle and Los Angeles, though.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles said that they're working them into practice, Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving, but again, that's not super promising, and we are seeing 6.5 juice, so maybe this gets to 7. Maybe that's an indication somebody knows something. I don't know. I assume the Bucs are going to see money, so if anything and you wanted to wait for the line to come down, I don't know if it will, though, because the Rams just look so dang dominant. You talked about Matthew Stafford. Tyler Higbee is the only guy questionable on that injury report. And the pressure on Baker Mayfield, if he's down 2 of his biggest playmakers, facing that pressure up front, it could be a long day for him. So we saw what happened to Sam Darnold last week. Could see a few costly picks here, and the Rams cover the 6.5. RJ, Larry, you're taking different directions. Both have a play on the over. Larry, talk to me about that and Matthew Stafford.
Well, I think this could be a Baker Mayfield gratitude game, not a revenge game, because I believe it was Sean McVay who resuscitated his career at the end of that season a few years ago. And now, an MVP type of a player for the Bucs. I don't really have a strong play on the game, maybe the over if those guys come back. But I do think Stafford is going to go off, over 2.5 touchdown passes at plus 150 in that range. Longest completion over. The Bucs give up a ton of explosives. I mean, we saw Josh Allen hit 53-yarder, a 42-yarder to guys, that you almost never heard of without his top weapons. And Stafford's coming off his lowest passing game of the year, like 130 yards. This is the defense to air it out. This is the Bucs team that doesn't let you run, that forces you to throw, and that's going to set up for a massive day for Atwell, for Nakua, for Devontae Adams. So I love Matthew Stafford props in this matchup.
And I just want to make a quick note here on the pressures, too. Baker right now is facing the 7th most. The Rams D has racked up the 5th most quarterbacks hit, top 10 in pressures. So, again, I think Baker's going to be under a lot of stress. It's going to be a very different situation for the quarterbacks on both sides. Talk to me about the over, RJ.
Yeah, well, first, if you're watching this, on YouTube, Larry had so many plays in that game. It went to 2 lines on the under. I thought we were computer blue screening for a second, and we were going to get an error message, and the whole thing was going to shut down. That's how much he likes the offense in this game. So I've got to follow him and take over 49.5. Did the Rams defense play well? I mean, they caught balls that Sam Darnold threw to them, so that's better than what the Packers did in that game against Jameis. But 26 first downs allowed to 12 that the Rams got, 414 yards allowed. The Seahawks still move the ball plenty besides those turnovers. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 100-yard game. A.J. Barner catching 10 of 11 passes. There's a path here for the Bucs to score points against a defense that's averaged over 400 yards allowed the last 2 weeks. And the Tampa defense, of course, has allowed 27 plus in half its games, 400 plus yards in their last 2. Good bounce back spot for the Rams offense for all the reasons that Larry was talking about. So I think this game indoors pretty much easily gets to 50. I like the over here.
All right. Over there, we got.
Keep disrespecting them all the way to the Super Bowl, RJ. Keep disrespecting my Rams.
You can win the Super Bowl without a great defense. A lot of teams have shown it. So.
Okay. You guys want to fight more? Are we good? Monday Night Football, we got the Panthers and the 49ers. Niners laying 7 at home. Total at 49. 49ers coming off big game. Brock Purdy came back, didn't skip a beat, 3 touchdowns, 200 yards, 41 points for that squad. Panthers coming off a comeback win in overtime against the Falcons. Bryce Young throwing for a career high, almost 450. And now with the Bucs losing streak, because of course these games really matter in Week 12 when it comes to the playoffs, they're tied with the Bucs in wins, and they could take over the South with a win here. So certainly a lot on the line for this Panthers squad, Larry, and maybe that motivation is enough to cover the 7.
Yeah, and Bryce Young was moving well this week, according to the beat reporter. So it looks like he's a full go. And that's why I'm shocked to see a full 7. I wish I had my database handy that I could pull out Kyle Shanahan's record as a big favorite. It's not very good, especially at home. And I just think this, the Panthers offense against the 30th ranked defense in terms of success rate and all the people the Niners have lost on defense is going to be able to keep them close in a very high scoring type of a game, a 27-24, 27-21 type of a game. I'll take the 7.
Okay. Let's go to you, RJ. Another over.
Yeah, San Francisco to me is just looking like an over team most weeks. Their offense getting healthy. You talked about the effect of Purdy coming back. The defense giving up 400+ yards in 3 of their last 4 weeks. Like I said, Jacoby Brissett set the completion record against them. So we're going to need a good Bryce Young game to show up. And, of all the quarterbacks, he seems to be the one that ping pongs between looking terrible and looking great, from week to week. Or at least 3 or 4 weeks where he looks incredible. And then the other 10 or so that he looks pretty bad. I'm optimistic after that great passing day, as long as he's healthy, like Larry's talking about, that he will contribute, potentially even backdoor a cover for my over 49 here. I do like this one to get to 50 as well. Typically on the primetime unders, and that's been a good look the last month. Like I said, a lot of unexciting games, but these 2 Sunday night, Monday night games, I think are going to be high scoring ones.
All right, well, you're on the same page, and I will note this open 47.5. Look ahead was 46. Assume you don't mind the movement, though.
I mean, I don't like the movement.
I should over.
I mean, again, you can by the way, join our Splash Sports NFL Week 12 Pick'em game for free. Go to splashsports.com/early edge. And while you're signing up for things, again, SportsLine, I gave this out on Monday night at 47.5, the over for this game, because quite frankly, it should be in the 50s. It's like the number for the Cowboys-Eagles game and the Panthers-49ers game should have been flipped. And the reason is San Francisco with Brock Purdy, they could have come out and been really conservative against Arizona, run the ball with Christian McCaffrey a bunch, but Purdy's fully healthy, and they let him throw down the field out of the gate. They're going to be able to do that against the Panthers. They're going to score early, attack with George Kittle. Ricky Pearsall should be more involved here. Juwan Jennings, they've got the weapons there. And then here's the thing with Carolina. Carolina wants to run the ball. Dave Canales wants to run as long as he can. The second that he cannot run, the second that you score on him, he starts to pass the ball. And they're just one of those teams that is willing to get drawn into a tempo type of game. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. San Francisco will score on the scripted drive early. Carolina will bail on the run game. Bryce Young will start whipping around. I mean, I don't even know if the Panthers knew until like Monday morning that Bryce Young broke the franchise record for most passing yards in a game. Like, I think the Panthers put out like a story on it on Monday morning, because it was like all of a sudden he's had 448 passing yards. And I'm not saying he's going to do that here, but he is going to put up enough points with Ted McMillan and the weapons he's got that the Panthers will score in the 20s. And I think the 49ers could easily get to the 30s.
Okay. I just have to say, Will, with the promos today, Larry is just lit up like a Christmas tree. So
I know. I just do it because Larry smiles every time I do it.
You're trying to get brownie points from Larry. I see how it is. It's fine. All right. RJ, did you talk to me about the over yet? I honestly can't. Yeah, we did. Larry, Panthers.
You got it. Yeah.
We got it. Okay. So I guess it's just me.
SportsLine promotional director has the over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will went on a rant and I forgot where I was, but it's fine. I'm going to tease the 49ers, which I'm debating if I should do the Niners or the Falcons leg with the Patriots. Carolina is 4-1 ATS on the road, so they do scare me a little bit, which is why I'm going to tease the 49ers. They're not sexy, but they are winning games, and they're keeping games close, and the defense looks solid. Brock Purdy looked great, though, and CMC, I think, is going to eat on the ground. We saw Bijan put up over 100 and 2 tutties last week. There is some defensive holes, as we know, with the Niners. They lost their top guy, so that worries me. So, again, I like the Niners, but I feel better bringing them from the touchdown to under a field goal, close to a pick 'em with the Patriots. I think that's the best leg. let's talk about best bets. But before we do this week, let's look at week 11 and see how we all did. Larry climbing his way back, baby. 1-0 with that Browns and the points. RJ laid the 12.5, as he should have with the Patriots. Will, your Rams let you down. And the Chargers just made me look stupid because they could not even put up 23 points. It was terrible. But it's fine. Alas, we move on to week 12. Larry, who do you like this week?
I'm just like every coach. You got to go 1-0 every week to build out of this hole. And I'm going to Jameson Williams over 59.5 receiving yards in a tremendous matchup against the Giants, who play the man coverage at the highest rate. They play the single high safety coverage at a very high rate. And what has happened since Dan Campbell took over? Jameson Williams is getting fed with 14 targets. There's no Sam Laporta. They don't have a good number 3 receiver. I love Jameson Williams over 59.5.
RJ?
I got Saints minus 1.5. I like Kellen Moore with 2 weeks to prepare in this game. I think the Saints defense could have a huge game with all the Atlanta injuries there. So this just seems like a great spot for the Saints, a terrible spot for the Falcons. I would play this all the way up to 3. I like the Saints.
Well,
give me the Lions. We talk about the Lions in a bounce back spot. I should probably, by the way, if I somehow get hooked on this and I lose another one of my best bets in like horrific fashion, I might just quit doing best bets. But the Lions bounce back in a big spot here against Jackson Dart, who's not going to be able to run, a Giants secondary that shouldn't be able to slow down Jared Goff indoors after being humiliated by the Eagles. As Larry notes, Jameson Williams, a great look here. I actually just put in a Jared Goff, JMO, Brock Wright DFS lineup. So I'll probably win $1 million off this game, and I won't see you guys next week.
Well, that's good. You're playing DFS while we have a show.
Just
You're
kidding. I'll still show up even if I win $1 million.
Go good. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm gonna go with the Patriots teaser, and I guess I'm gonna go Falcons. Yeah. All right, it's already on the graphic. We're gonna go get them up over a touchdown. Do you really trust the Saints that much? No, you don't. You don't trust Kirk Cousins either. But we're getting 7.5. That's all that matters. And then the Patriots probably should cover the original spread because the Bengals are awful, but we'll give ourselves some wiggle room there at minus 2.5. Don't forget, I know Will mentioned it, but if you use promo code WINNERS, 60% off of a SportsLine membership. And then also tell the people about Splash Sports once more, Will Brinson.
Splashsports.com/early edge to sign up for our Week 12 Pro Football Pick'em. It is free, people. If you like free money, who doesn't like free freaking money? You go in there, you make your picks. You have one pick that is your designated your best pick of the week, your best bet, if you will. Obviously, mine's going to be the Lions minus 10.5. You go in there, you beat all of us, you beat the rest of the people in there, and you can win a bunch of cash for nothing. Just sign up for Splash Sports. Great app. Highly recommend it. Great for Survivor as well.
Thank you, Will. And do we have a look ahead for week 13, RJ?
I like the Colts minus 4.5. They'll be playing the Texans. Even assuming Stroud is back, I think we're discrediting the Colts by making that the line. The market ratings typically have them around 8th or 9th in the league. I think they've proven themselves to a point, especially on offense, that they should be giving more credit than that. So I think this line should be closer to 7, and I think it is going to move that direction when they upset the Chiefs this week.
All right, there you go. That's your week 13 look ahead. This is your week 12 best bet slate. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, here on the Early Edge. Lots of fun. For Will Brinson, Larry Hartstein, RJ White, I'm Claudia Bellofatto. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes, and we will see you next time.